Hello and welcome back. You know, most people don't have the tolerance for bad anime that I do. I mean, hell, I'll watch anime that, by all accounts, is actual dog shit. But I still watch it because my trash filter is so liberal that I will practically watch any anime, even if it is kind of terrible, as long as it has just some or even a singular redeeming quality. Which brings us to today's video and today's show, which is the healer who was banished from his party was indeed the strongest, or something along those lines. And this show was, well, is so unremarkable, so uninspired, so absolutely generic that even I, the king of trash, so to speak, could not endure more than 4 episodes before I simply had to say to myself, holy crap, I cannot in good conscience watch anymore. My brain is going to melt. I cannot find anything entertaining, redeeming, or interesting about this show. It is just absolutely the most bare bones stuff I might have seen all year. And sure, you might say, this show or this show is worse. Maybe. But of the shows I actually watched during 2024, this is my pick for the worst, or at least the most uninspired, unoriginal show of the year. Let's talk about it. Technically, it could have been an isekai, which would have been even worse. But no, it's just a generic fantasy instead. Our MC, the generic, left to his own devices orphan that is seen to be super weak and useless, but is actually very strong. And of course, the young girl who gets rescued by our generic MC, who then grows up to have a love complex about him and joins him after years of training, are the main focal points of this show. At least the 4 episodes I watched. And both of these characters are absolutely generic in every single regard. They are completely predictable. They seem to have no depth, no complexity. They seem to have just one, at most 1.5, drives or interests in the world, or goals. They do not get fleshed out at all in the first 2 episodes, and everything that happens between them and to them is completely predictable. On top of this, the antagonists, so to speak, at least of the first episodes, of this party he was kicked out from initially, are extremely cardboard cutouts of what an antagonist can be. They are extremely bland and just are quote-unquote evil for evil's sake. This on top of the young insecure girl character that, of course, gets pressured into doing something which she later regrets to then come to our MC and his new party to apologize and cry, is just as incredibly unoriginal, generic, and uninspiring and unsurprising as you would think it is. There wasn't a single development during the course of the 4 episodes I watched that surprised me in any way whatsoever. I could have predicted every single development in these 4 episodes way before they even happen. And I didn't see a single character get any meaningful development during these 4 episodes, and they were all extremely predictable in what character arc they were and what character journey, quote-unquote, if you can call it that, they were, quote-unquote, going on in the first episodes. The one redeeming thing I thought could maybe keep me engaged in this show was the power fantasy element. Because if you know me, I adore power fantasy. I love any show, no matter how trash it may be, if they can have some goofy power fantasy character that is viewed as weak, but actually comes out and does something to show he is OP as heck. In most cases, almost all cases, no matter how bad the show may be, as long as it has that element and that element satisfies me, it'll keep me engaged enough to at least keep watching slightly. But no, even the power fantasy element of the show was absolutely just uninspired. When our main character gets his whimsical transformation in episode 4 to take down this very difficult beast to surprise everyone, the transformation was generic. The battle scene was incredibly generic. The animation was incredibly generic. It didn't feel epic at all. It was over in the blink of an eye, which even to me, who can forgive practically anything in terms of liking power fantasy anime, I could not overlook just how incredibly bland everything was. Well, still is, including this most pivotal scene for me when his powers were first shown. The entire show, at least to me, seems extremely slapstick. Like the author just looked up, okay, what's the 100 most popular like fantasy or power fantasy or like isekai-esque shows out there or novels out there. Okay, check. Let's just include all these elements, almost like it was written by a unoriginal AI, even though AI would still write much better narratives than this. Everything feels extremely sloppy. Things just seem to happen without any rational basis. Something that happens one day suddenly is overturned the next. There is no character development, no character complexity, an extremely thin narrative, and nothing really feels satisfying. Everything just seems to be on a speedrun. Everything just has to happen episode to episode. Nothing gets time to develop. Nothing gets time to actually stew. It just gets instantly resolved or instantly dealt with. Characters have no time to even think about anything before suddenly the next episode, boom, it's done with. Let's move on to something else. Everything is so comically simple. Everything is so incredibly generic that even me, one of the most hardcore trash lovers out there, just could not stomach more than a third of the first season. Now, hell, maybe the rest of season 1 really picked up and I stopped at a bad time. But with my experience watching hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of anime, yeah, no, I think this one is a dud, to say the least. For all of these reasons, and more, though I'm not going to spend another hour talking to you about this show, for me, took the place as the most uninspired, most generic, and most unoriginal show of 2024. I'm not going to say the worst show, but at this point, it's not far off. Even if you tell a bad story, as long as you try, I can give you some props. But shows like this, stories like this, where I cannot see a single shred of originality, where I don't see a single shred of someone trying to make something original, trying to make something worthwhile, that is one thing I simply cannot give any positive feedback to at all. Because if you don't have any investment in what you're making, if you don't have any investment in your product, how can I, as the consumer, or the viewer in this case, have any investment in it either? Anyhow though, those are my general thoughts on the healer who was banished from his party was actually the strongest. What are your thoughts on this show if you did end up watching it? Love it, hate it, leave all those thoughts down below. Of course, if you enjoyed this video or got something out of it, do please remember to like and subscribe. We are going to be covering the new Winter 2025 season, starting any day now. And with that being said, hope you have a nice day, keep watching anime, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.